right, welcome into Before Floor, an extension of 5 on the Floor here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I'm Ethan Skolnick. I'm currently parked on 8th Street because I decided to try to come down in rush hour. Always fun. I'll make it to Bayside eventually. Brady Hawk has beaten me to the arena because he's more conscientious than I am. You can follow him at Brady Hawk 305. Our producer Alejandro Villegas. Follow him at Alejandro VG32. Ricky J. Mark at Ricky J. Mark. Jonathan Ramlakan at 3-Piece Combo. Timothy Bain at, well, Timmy with a bunch of A's. All right, and an underscore. All right, we are sponsored, as always, by our friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer, the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and of, well, a team we were not going to mention. But anyway, that's okay. You can find it here at FTX Arena. At FTX Arena, the 100 level, the 300 level. Perhaps Derek Jeter will be drinking one tonight, somewhere, wherever it is he is. You can also find it at Winn-Dixie, Publix, our other sponsor, Quarter Deck, Whole Foods, a whole bunch of different places. I recommend the Tropical Bay IPA, but of course they do have a beer named after another team in town. Also sponsored by our friend Mark Brown, markbrownpa.com. This is the man with a plan. If you need an estate plan, and you do, no matter what age you are, no matter how big your family is, he's based right there in North Lauderdale, just north Cypress Creek Boulevard off of Andrews. He also has a title company right there in house. So if you're closing on a property, lucky you, he will help you out with that as well. He did with me. Okay, so markbrownpa.com. MARCBrownPA.com. Big Miami sports fan. Might actually run into him tonight at the game. 954-566-5678. All right, now I know nobody knows about it because, I don't know, LeBron's getting traded to the Heat now, according to some, or whatever, ridiculous proposals. The two best teams in the Eastern Conference by record play tonight in this arena, and they play relatively full strength, not completely, but more so than last time. No Kyle Lowry. But let's get to it, Brady. Who else is in and who else is out?
Yeah, the only other one is Caleb Martin plans to play. So that's obviously a big thing because that should round out their 9-man rotation. Truce is probably just going to plug right in off the bench along with Hero and Dedmon. It's interesting because this is their third time playing. The first time they played, they didn't have Tyler. The second time they played, they didn't have Jimmy or Bam. Now they don't have Kyle. So it's pretty much all 4 of their core guys they've been without at different times against Chicago. So it should be interesting. I'm pretty sure we all think Gabe's going to plug right in, and they'll just go with their normal 9-man rotation.
And for Chicago, Levine is back, of course. Still no Lonzo Ball, so that's a key guy that's out. A couple other guys are out. With that context, Ricky, because everybody talks about the Bucks. Well, not everybody talks about the Bucks. Not as many as should, right? But also, obviously, the Nets, the Sixers. But these are the two teams with the two best records in the Eastern Conference. Based on what both have dealt with this season, which is more impressive in your view?
I know the easy answer would be Miami because they've overcome adversity. Everybody's sick. Bam was out for about, I think, 20-something games and things like that. 22. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate you, King. Look, the thing is, I think we do need to give the Bulls a little bit of credit because if I'm not mistaken, Zach LaVine did hurt his knee, which has a huge impact on athleticism and playing and planting and all that stuff. And they were able to maintain a top 2 seed throughout all of that. However, and I don't mean to pander to our audience, I think Miami was able to be 14. They were able to go 14-8 with an assortment of injuries to not only their role players, but Jimmy Butler, Bam for all those games, Kyle Lowry, who unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, Brady, correct me if I'm wrong, will be out tonight for personal reasons. For them to be number 1 after everything that they've gone through on top of the COVID that everybody else was already dealing with, it's Miami. Miami's run this season has been impressive. And I can understand why the national media still might not cover it because, quite frankly, a team with Jimmy Butler as its best player, well, that could change given how Bam's been playing lately, is probably not going to get national love because Jimmy's just not at that level of stardom. That's just how it is. But that's another topic altogether.
Jonathan, Bam is the topic, I think, that everybody wants to get into. What happened the other night? We've talked about him sort of recognizing his own power. It feels like once he starts to, he doesn't stop, at least for that game. But then it's like, okay, does it come back the next game? Does it come back the next game? Are you more confident now that it will continue?
Just a little bit. I mean, it's going to take incremental steps for him to become the player that we all know that he could become. The good thing is last game, I feel like offensively, he gave you a little bit of everything. He was taking guys off the dribble. He was getting deep post-up position. We saw the buzzer-beating shot from him from just inside the three-point line. He was doing a little bit of everything. We even saw when he drove to the paint and two players actually came to double him, that beautiful left-hand pass he found to Caleb Martin in the corner. So he's starting to put everything together because we already know he had the passing and we had the screening, but now the scoring is starting to come up a little bit more. The thing is, we don't have Kyle tonight, so we're not going to have somebody on the court yelling at him to go and take those shots. So he's going to have to do it on his own. I'm a little more confident, but we have to see a little more consistency from him to doing that and moving forward.
I think Ethan is muted.
Timothy, that's my concern is that, it feels like he still needs a push, right? And the guy who's been pushing him to do it is not on the court tonight. I don't feel like Jimmy pushes him in that way anymore. Like, you don't see him feed him off the pick and roll as much as he used to. Like, it is Kyle sort of directing him to be aggressive. So without Kyle, and we don't know, I know everybody's going to ask us, look, personal reasons, we don't reveal personal reasons anyway. Obviously, Kyle was out for a period of time. We know why that was, but we don't know how long this one's going to be. But just get to, Timothy, like, are you concerned at all without Kyle that Bam sort of retreats a little bit?
I am a bit concerned that without Kyle, that these last 10 games, yes, some of it has to be Bam taking some initiative, but I always say this, how there's times when Bam posts up, kicks it back out, and Larry immediately feeds it back to him. Maybe you won't get a Gabe or a Jimmy immediately force feed them. You might get a Jimmy drive or a Gabe 3-pointer. So I do think Bam has now realized in these last 10 games that he is the man. But I do have just a bit of anxiety that without Larry, that Bam won't take it to the rim as much.
Let's get to the rest of the rotation here. Brady, you mentioned Strus has not played much lately. This has been one of the things I think has slipped under the radar, is that Spoelstra was allocating 48 minutes to Duncan and Strus, and that stopped. Typically, when Duncan does not play big minutes, Strus will get them. But you do think tonight that he's the obvious option, right? Like, they don't have Lowry, so Gabe slides in with more minutes. I mean, are you expecting Max to go back to 15 to 20 minutes tonight?
Yeah, unless we're thinking Kyle Guy slots in next to Tyler. Like, I don't think there's another option right now. I actually think this could be a big Max game. Like, these are the type of games, Chicago, first of all, there's some links there first off. But I just feel like these are the type of games when he gets opportunities. We've seen it in the past. We've seen it his first time he was with Miami. We've seen it early in the season when he got his first opportunity. He takes advantage of these spots. And him knowing they're going to go in the defensive route with the occasional shooter over the pure kind of shot type of guy off the catch, this is the perfect time to take advantage of this. So I feel like this could be a big game. I think it's focused on the two ways of last season, because not only Max, but I think this is a big one for Gabe as well, because he's another guy that's played well against Chicago. And as much as we're talking about Bam kind of going back down without Lowry, Gabe's done just enough when Lowry's been out. Like, he's not the playmaker that he is. He cannot set guys up in the way that Kyle does, but he can get them into their actions. He can get the ball to Bam. He can get the ball to Jimmy. That I think it's kind of the focus tonight, is watching those two guys.
So I'm going to start with the picks here before I get pulled over for double parking. Or I'm already pulled over, but before I get ticketed for double parking. And then I'm going to let everybody else jump in. I don't have a great feeling about it. Well, I will, but I don't have a great feeling about tonight. And it's not that I think the Heat are going to get blown out, but I just have a sense that we're going to be talking about late game execution tonight. You can get away with certain things against the Knicks and against the Spurs. I don't know that you can get away with it, against the team that has been playing, at the level that the Bulls have been playing at. And without Lowry, that's what concerns me at the end of games. I don't know that they know where to go in those situations, other than the places we don't want them to go. So I think this is a close game tonight. But honestly, I feel like this is a game we're going to be talking about the last couple of minutes. All right, I'm going to pivot here and let Ricky sort of take the show here the rest of the way to do the picks. Obviously, we got pace and space at halftime. Brady's takeaways after the game, 5 on the floor after the game, post up 5R after the game as well. Hang with these guys, and Rick and Alejandro will take you until the start. I'm gonna go see if I can still find a spot on the top floor of Bayside. Have a good night, everybody.
The revolution has begun, ladies and gentlemen. Look, to kind of go off of something that Timmy said not too long ago, I understand the concerns with Bam with regards to Kyle Lowry being out and his insistence on Bam being aggressive. But I think this is one of the steps that we need to be concerned about, because we shouldn't need Kyle Lowry, excuse me, to be the one to force feed Bam shots in the post. That needs to be something that Bam understands himself. So in saying that, I think that this will be up to Bam tonight, even with Nikola Vucevic. I don't even know. Brady, please tell me if he's in or not. I don't know.
Yeah, he is.
He is? Okay, good. This is up to Bam tonight to really bring it home. And I think if this stretch of Bam games continues, my take is that Bam will lead this Heat team to a victory, because even without Kyle Lowry, this Heat team has enough. Ramlakan, what do you feel about tonight? Do you think they pull out the win?
Yeah, I do think we have a pretty good path to get there. Chicago is a bottom rebounding team. They're 29th in the league in rebounding. They're 25th in allowing points in the paints. And I think with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo spearheading the attack and letting everybody else kind of work from outside of that, they also allow 36% from three, which is 26. So I think we have a good mix of getting the points in the paint from Bam and Jimmy and spraying out to our shooters. And offensively, that's kind of what we have to do. Defensively, we're going to have to make sure that we keep Kobe White in check. He's shooting about 50% from three over the last month. Levine's shooting about 44 from three for the last month. And obviously, we all know how good DeMar has been. So it's going to be a team effort. I feel like we're going to have to close out very strong. They're not a team that attacks the paint very much outside of Nikola Vucevic. But I think the Heat can get it done with what I said earlier.
True story. DeMar DeRozan could be a problem. I know there were some jokes about him being DeMar DeFrozen, but this is the same guy that 2 game winners in a row from New Year's Eve to New Year's. Timmy, how do you feel about DeMar DeRozan tonight? Will that be a significant factor, and do the Heat pull it out?
So DeRozan has basically broken some Wilt records and some Jordan records for the last 2 to 3 weeks, so you can't really take it away from him. This game features 2 of the best wings that don't really shoot threes, Jimmy and DeRozan. So from a pure basketball standpoint, I like to see how those two match up and go against each other. But like I said yesterday on Bomber Weekend, was that they don't have Lonzo, they don't have Caruso, they only have AO. They just get Tristan Thompson, who's not better than Deadman or Yurt. So Fuchs is a Heat killer. Troy Brown's probably going to have a career night, because that's what happens with this Heat defense. Like, we shut down who he's supposed to shut down, and then the most random of players have like 20 points. So I actually expect Troy Brown to have a good game. You just need Jimmy to neutralize DeRozan. Like, they need to match each other. I think it was Brady who said it. I actually feel a really good Shoes game, especially with Caleb pumping, getting Caleb's gonna play more, Shoes gonna play more. I'm happy that Caleb is playing, because he's gonna, bother DeRozan a bit. I actually think the Heat, I'm not worried about this game. I'm worried about later on this week with back-to-back with the Bucks and the Nets, with the Sixers. This is actually the game I'm comfortable with, because of their no Lonzo, no Caruso. So I think the Heat win is gonna be a close one, but as bad as Vucci has killed us on the Magic, he hasn't really been a Heat killer with the Bulls. So I still pick the Heat today.
Brady, I have a feeling that you already have the recap of the game already written. So give us an excerpt from the breakdown that you have already written. Well, who wins? What happens tonight?
Yeah, I don't have that on me right now, but I will say the thing I'm watching tonight is the DeRozan factor. And I think the point I've been making about the Heat's defense is that they do a lot better with guys inside the arc. Joel Embiid is MVP candidate. DeMar DeRozan is MVP candidate. But it's 2 guys that play inside the arc that kind of fall into Miami's favor with the things they like to do, with the doubles, the blitzing. The difference is one of them has a James Harden, the other one has a Zach LaVine, 2 high-level scores that they can bounce off of after those doubles. So it's just an interesting challenge defensively to see what they can do. I do think this was a close one. I think the Heat, actually the opposite of Ethan, I think the Heat pull this one out late. Tyler Hero some big shots down the stretch, and they win this one.
That's what we're hoping for. We're hoping for Tyler Hero to continue that 6th man of the year run. We're hoping for Bam Adebayo to become hopefully defensive player of the year and hopefully an MVP candidate. If not this year, then next year. But without those things, it'll be very tough. I think like I said before, I think Miami pretty much pulls this out tonight. Alejandro, tell us how you feel about this game and take us home.
Well, I hope the Miami Heat wins. They've won the previous 2 games, and I hope that's the case. We have Brady there, so he can be there with Ethan, so we just
true.
No, but we do have Brady there, so
we're screwed.
Brady is our guy there. I'm feeling good. Like Timmy, though that back to back on Wednesday, Thursday against the Bucks and the Nets is gonna be tough. So they better get this one and then figure out how to win any of those two, and they'll be fine. So I'm feeling good about tonight.
Well, yeah, thanks for the reminder. Yeah, good luck, Miami. I'm sorry on behalf of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Brady's there, great. Ethan is at the arena.
Well,
so,
we'll see if he can make it because traffic in Miami is really, really bad. So
that's probably the Lord trying to speak. But yeah, thanks, guys. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the game, Alejandro. It's all yours, man.
All right. Thank you guys for all of you that are here for the pregame show. Let's go ahead right away and listen to what Eric Spoelstra said about this matchup tonight. The Miami Heat facing the Chicago Bulls in a very important week for the Heat, a week that will have a lot of very important games here at home. So hopefully we get those important wins for the Miami Heat. Let's go ahead. And Eric Spoelstra is the first one.
For tonight. Caleb is planning on playing.
Oh, okay. You said anyone else?
Sorry. Coach, Bam's got 12 blocks the last 4 games. He had 19 only the first 32. I know you talk about his progress and its ceiling is endless. Is that something you specifically are working on with him at this time? Is he something that he's focusing on at this time?
No. He can do anything and everything defensively. What that's a product of is we got beat off the dribble more often than we want to. But he can block shots. That's not something he has to work on. And I thought he took a charge the other night as well. His versatility defensively is all across the board. Whether he has to protect the rim, whether he's out switching on perimeters, whether he's taking charges, whether he's just mucking everything up as a weak side defender, he can do all of that. But no, I would not say that's necessarily a good sign for our team that the ball is just being funneled to him all the time.
The thought on the benefits of sending Vic back to Sioux Falls, how beneficial did you find that the first time, and what are you sort of looking to accomplish this
year? I think this will be a better segment than the last time because they played on a Tuesday, Thursday, and we had practice guys that had been playing heavy minutes, for that practice. It was really good practice, but this will be 3 segments. And they played Saturday night and then not till Thursday. He had a really good workout already there. Tomorrow will be a real heavy one, and then a bit lighter on Wednesday.
This is the sort of thing that nobody should care about, but if there's one record that's untouchable, is it 100 points by a player?
This is totally random.
Well, the anniversary is Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
So, I mean, you've seen. You had LeBron go for 61. Dwayne went for 50 a bunch of times, and as great as those nights were, they weren't even close to 100. I mean,
and Kobe's was
81.
Yeah, I mean that's insane that he got 81 in a modern game. Scoring is going up a little bit more. I don't know if one of those 3-point shooters, like Thompson got hot that one time. We were at 37 and a quarter. You'd have to have 3 of those quarters and then have an average quarter. I don't know. Like if you start thinking about it, it's crazy.
Coach, good to see you.
Good to see you.
So the year, for that matter, the month even that DeRozan is having, can you talk a little about his game, what you've seen on tape coming into the game tonight? Yeah,
he's one of those guys that is universally respected. We've battled against him for so many years when he was in the East with Toronto, and he broke our hearts, so many times. And he was, one of the best clutch players then. We always felt that if the game got close and, he had an opportunity, at the end of the game, that was a problem because, his ability to draw fouls, he can get to wherever he wants to and get a clean shot off. And the level of accuracy that he can make those shots with, heavy duress and defense, and his ability to draw fouls. So you have to kind of like back off a little bit of your aggressiveness. He's so clever. He's just a great player. And he's having arguably the best year of his career at this age. I think it just speaks to his commitment to the game, to his craft, to getting better, to staying healthy, and getting younger. But he's definitely having an MVP type year.
Spo, just walking around the building, everyone's talking about how big a game tonight is. I'm curious if that seeps into the locker room and you allow that to manifest in any way and you use that, or do you just block that out and say, hey, we got it?
No, that wasn't like a topic of discussion. We have great competitors in our locker room, just like Chicago has in their locker room, but both teams are aware, of what it is. And I think more than anything, the two teams are just looking forward to great competition.
Coach, a couple first. Is there anything specifically you can do with DeRozan to keep him from having a night like he's had here for the last stretch?
Other than like our last game here at home, where he didn't play, that was probably the best defense we had. I don't remember why he missed. I think it might have been COVID. But I thought we defended him really well in Chicago, and he had 28. We have to do what we do. We have to do it with great detail and discipline. But he's also seen every single coverage. So it's not like you're going to surprise him. He's going to make some tough shots. I would prefer that he's not getting 15 to 20 free throw attempts. So we have to do things with discipline and not foul. And then make sure we're just doing a great job, with our team defense, not letting them get easy ones in other places as well.
To my second question, which is this month with your defense, what have you enjoyed the most? The numbers have it trending in the right direction?
Yeah, the activity level, or we've been able to force more turnovers, more activity, more efforts. All of those things have improved, and we've been able to get some mileage off of those steals, deflections, long rebounds, things like that. But it all starts with that commitment to making multiple efforts.
Oh, last one for me. A lot of attention's paid attention to DeRozan. Vooch has played really well in February. Are there other guys you have to really focus on just defensively when you're looking at Chicago?
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Zach LaVine, guys. An all-star. I enjoyed. We all enjoyed having an opportunity to work the sidelines with him. Over the All-Star break, he's just a quality pro. I really enjoyed, seeing him work in his process this summer, with the USA program. But he's a great player. Vucevic, we know, what he's capable of doing against the Miami Heat team. This team has a record that they have for a reason. They're really good. They're extremely well coached. And they've been able to handle, as much adversity as any team has in this league. People talk about us, handling guys in and out of the rotation. They've had the most in the league, and still have, 3 real impact players that are out, and they're still finding different ways to win. You have to respect that. They know how to, at the end of the day, win games. That's what we pride ourselves on, and that's why it's set up to be a compelling matchup. Ronnie, got anything?
All right, Coach. Thanks.
All right, that was Coach Spoelstra talking about tonight's matchup against the Chicago Bulls, which should be starting here in about 30 to 35 minutes. Let's continue listening to the coaches now, the Chicago Bulls coach, about tonight's matchup against the Miami Heat.
Are we good? Yes. Live? How are you? What's the latest with the injury, guys? Is there someone that's ahead of the other one? Is Patrick most likely to come back first? You guys have kind of a more defined timetable, at least with those two. Lonzo, he walked by in street calls, so I'm guessing he is what he is.
Yeah, so Lonzo's still doing some straight ahead running. The biggest thing for him will start to do the change direction, probably amp up the intensity of his sprints, but he's progressing. Nothing has changed with his time schedule. The biggest issue, I think, for Alex right now is just this is the first time he's been able to get on the floor with the ball and doing stuff. Obviously, having, his hand in a cast or a splint as he's had it in, he's got to get his strength back. Like, he can't really even pass with that. It doesn't feel comfortable shooting it. It's not pain. It's just stiff and it's weak. That's going to take some time to build that up. I think once he gets to that point, then he'll be certainly cleared for contact. My feeling, Joe, will probably be a couple weeks of doing this, to be honest with you. I think he's maybe right at about 3.5 or 4 weeks right about now. And I think I mentioned last game that this week would be him getting on the floor and dribbling. He's clear to do those things. He just doesn't have strength in that.
Does he have to get rescanned then? Because that original timetable was for reevaluation. So I imagine there's some kind of rescanning just to make sure.
Yeah, they'll do all that. Like whatever the timetable was on him and Patrick, like they'll get to that point, rescan and make sure the bone's healing and all those kind of things. But he is now cleared to start dribbling. But just in talking to him, he just said, just the flexing of his wrist, shooting, dribbling, passing, like he just doesn't have any strength there right now. And that's what they'll have to build up. But it's good to at least he can get back out there and he can put a ball in the
Hello, my friends. Sorry, we had some technical issues, but we're back. I know some of you are still here. So let me go ahead and play again that press conference. Or let's jump ahead and let's listen to the latest episode on Five on the Floor with Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and our friend Ethan Skolnick to listen to some of that, what they said about this particular stretch that starts tonight against the Chicago Bulls. So let's go ahead and let's start that podcast real quick. And I'm sorry because of all the issues that we had. I had to restart my laptop and everything.
Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're also on Dash Radio on their Nothing But Net channel. That's every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Also, check us out on Five Reasons YouTube before floor, an hour before every game. Post up 5 hours as soon as the game ends. Plenty of content during the week on all the South Florida teams, including the Heat. So make sure that you subscribe. Just go to YouTube, type in 5 Reasons Sports, hit subscribe. It's free and you'll get everything. It's also free over at 5reasonsports.com. The latest takeaways from Brady and, again, coverage of the other sports. We're the only major South Florida sports site that does not have a paywall. We will be introducing something soon, though, to some special followers of Five on the Floor. So keep it posted. We're going to give some exclusive access on a subscription basis, and that's going to be starting up on March 1st. It's going to be really easy. It's going to be inexpensive, and it's going to be a lot of additional creative, cool content. If you happen to be a follower of 3 Yards Per Carry and you're subscribed to OnlyFins, it's going to be somewhat in that vein. Not exactly the same, but I know that people have really enjoyed that. They're up near 1,000 subscribers. So we're going to try to do something similar here over at Five on the Floor. Also, something you want to sign up for, NordVPN. Go to nordvpn.com, 5RSN. That's our product code. So it's nordvpn.com / 5RSN. And this is for internet security. They will encrypt your internet traffic and hide your IP and virtual location. They help protect you against bandwidth throttling from internet providers, where ISPs slow down your internet to get you to upgrade. You certainly don't want that. They'll also give you additional access outside the country, things like Netflix, Disney Plus, and YouTube Premium. Unparalleled browsing security and protection from hacking or personal data. So check it out at nordvpn.com / 5RSN. That's nordvpn.com / 5RSN. Get a discount on your plan, plus 1 additional month for free and a bonus gift at checkout, plus the 30-day money-back guarantee. So it's nordvpn.com / 5RSN for your internet security needs. And now, today's episode.
Down the Biscayne. Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing rubber frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back on Five on the Floor, back from a little mini vacation. Thanks to Greg, Alex, Brady, and everybody else for holding it down for the past couple days. But we are in the home stretch, so no more days off for me. Just like our friend Jose Pineda, who just called his 2700th game. Make sure you check out our latest episode with him. He actually ran into Allen Houston at MSG and mentioned to him again that he walked on his infamous basket, which is something that Jose has been telling him in person for years, but he did it again. All right, the floor plan, I got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. I got Alex Toledo. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. We're going to talk about this closing stretch because the Heat are coming into this on a good note. Bam Adebayo is playing at a very high level. Kyle Lowry will miss the game for personal reasons against the Bulls on Monday, but the Heat are in first place, a game clear of the Bulls, plus a tie break as they come in right now. Of course, the Nets and the Sixers have main changes, but the Heat are in very good position right now. But also, we've been saying something all year that this would be the soft part of the schedule. And as Alex and I were looking at before this episode, it is not. It is not. There are a lot of home games, Alex, but the opponents are really good, especially starting with the next 4 and 6 of the next 7, right?
Yep. So, I mean, everybody knows about the stretch that they've got coming up right now. You got the Bulls tomorrow, you got the Bucks after that, then you got Brooklyn, who obviously isn't completely healthy, missing KD and Simmons. You got the Sixers after that. You got the Cavs, the Suns. Like, there's a lot of, you got the Sixers again, the Warriors. I'm just looking, going down, and it's a lot more of those type of teams than the Rockets and the Pistons of the world, right? And then I was looking at the Tankathon remaining schedule strength page. Shout out to them and their site. According to this, they've got the 8th toughest strength of schedule remaining by win percentage. So that was surprising to me, because I had a feeling it would trend that way, because I think we've all thought about this part of the schedule, like March and going forward, that it would be when things got softer, but really it's just a lot of home games, and it's a lot of home games, which is good. I think they'll be able to kind of get going there and really take advantage. But as far as the actual team, it's pretty tough.
Well, but the easy part passed, y'all. That was at San Antonio, at Charlotte, at Washington, at New Orleans, Brooklyn. They lost to Dallas. And then, they obviously just took care of business against Charlotte, New York, and San Antonio. So I feel like we have to balance the fact that, there's some tough games remaining with some duds mixed in there, but they did what they needed to do in the portion of the schedule. I think, we've talked about this all year. We kind of just got through that, I feel like, more than anything.
No, that's true. And like I said, as we were going through it, we were saying you can't drop these games because it's going to get a little bit more challenging. I just think that when we looked at the overall second half tilt, and it's hard to say second half of the All-Star break, it's literally like 2/3 to 3/4 of the way into the season. But what we were talking about was this idea that things would soften up and that the Heat had put themselves in good position before it did. They're still in good position, but they really didn't create any space with any of these other teams. With Brooklyn, yes, some of that obviously is self-inflicted with Brooklyn, but you look at the rest of it, 2.5 up on Philly. I don't know if that includes today's game where they beat the Knicks. I think it does, where Embiid shot like 65 free throws. Cleveland is still kind of hanging in despite the injuries. They're 3.5 back. Milwaukee 4 back. You have created a little bit of space with the Bucks, which is positive, and Brook Lopez isn't back. But Boston has been as hot as the Heat. So
That's
Boston
true.
has kept pace with the Heat. You look at Toronto, we don't consider them to be a threat for the Heat's positioning, but they've still been playing pretty well. And then, as we said, Brooklyn had the long losing streak. So, there still isn't a ton of wiggle room. One bad losing streak, and you could still drop to 3 or 4 here if one of these other teams gets hot. And so it is critical that they continue to play well and at least, I think, split this next stretch. As we look at the next 7 or 8, and of course, there are some benchmarks coming up, right? Victor Oladipo is coming back soon. Woj reported that. I think our information fits with what George Sedano reported, which is that the likely return for Vic will be in the one soft game in this stretch, which is against Houston, one of his old teams, at home. Okay, so we're anticipating seeing Victor Oladipo back in about roughly a week and a half. Okay, essentially. Markieff Morris traveling with the team. That's positive. Now, Lowry's out, but we don't expect it to be a long-term thing. I don't know if it's related to what he missed before, which we know kind of what that was, but we'll see what happens. And obviously, he's got to take care of what he's got to take care of. And then, they've gotten Dedmon back. Martin's still dealing with, kind of on and off with injuries. And Jimmy and Tyler, you never know when they're going to end up on an injury report. But I think right now, again, pivoting back to Alex on this, I think they're well positioned in the sense that some things that they wanted to get worked out have worked themselves out, starting with, again, Vic is still on track. Bam has been, blistering lately, okay, playing probably at the highest level from a two-way perspective in his entire Heat career. And Tyler has slid right back in now, looks refreshed and energized off the bench. So I do feel like you're in the best possible shape you could be for this stretch, and now we're going to see where they are.
Yep, and I think this is why I feel like March is almost always one of the most exciting times for Heat fans when you're talking about the regular season, and I don't know, it always kind of just turns out that way. And like we were talking about before, this season specifically, it's going to be just a lot of home games, and I think they can be even better at home than they have been so far. And I think it's going to be an opportunity for them to really look at themselves versus other contenders. And we've already seen them versus these contenders, but it's like in a kind of a lot of them in a short stretch. So it's going to be a little bit of a marathon. It's almost like their own in-season tournament, right? Because they got to play all these teams in such little time. They're going to be at some point throughout this stretch coming up. They're going to be reintegrating Oladipo and possibly Markieff Morris after thinking he might not have returned this season. Like, there's a whole lot going on, but I think it's a good time to do this. It's like a little bit of a warm up for the playoffs, and the fact that you're doing it mostly at home, I think, is good for them. I just, like you said, they're in a great position, and now that they have to do, the only concern, like I said, is trying to reintegrate some of these guys while you're also trying to, shore up what you already have. But like I said, it's all at home, so they're already in the 1 seed. It's not like they're trying to come up from, a lower seed or anything like that. They're in a pretty luxurious position.
But and here's the thing about it, like you mentioned, integration to me is not as big a deal as your top 4 guys being healthy and playing at a high level. Amen. Like what they do around the margins. And I'm not saying that Oladipo is necessarily around the margins, but like they've plugged for him all season, right? They haven't had him. They have obviously, Spoelstra is doing something different now where he's not necessarily giving 48 minutes to Robinson and Strus. When Duncan gets in foul trouble, it's not necessarily Strus lately. So that's a tweak that feels like it's prepping for Oladipo's insertion back into the rotation without losing Gabe Vincent from the rotation. We're going to see Gabe Vincent as a starter against Chicago on Monday, okay, in a game that he should be able to handle because Chicago still is not at full strength in terms of their point guards and in the backcourt. So it does feel like Spoelstra has been kind of getting things ready here, Greg, and I want to get your thoughts on that. And then when we come back, I want to get to sort of a more philosophical point. And so think about this, Alex, before we come back to it. During the Big Three era, there was a perception that it didn't really matter where the Heat were seeded because the 1 seeds, 2 of those years, were not considered to be strong 1 seeds. It's kind of like when you get in the NCAA tournament, there's a 1 or a 2 seed and you're like, yeah, not really. Okay. Like, they had a really good season.
Last year?
Yeah. Well, right. There's somebody else further down in the bracket that is more dangerous. And one thing I want you to think about, but Greg, first I want to pivot back to just talking about where they stand is, are the Heat that 1 seed that's vulnerable this year? Because I feel like according to the national media, they are. It's like, well, the Heat, yeah, Chicago, yeah, but the Nets, look what they're going to be when they get healthy, or look what Philly is starting to become. So just some thoughts on that after the break. But before we do, Greg, the idea again that it does seem like Erik Spoelstra has been putting these pieces together now for this run and for putting Oladipo in and maybe losing a couple of guys, not totally from the rotation, but maybe partly at least.
Yeah, no, it was eyebrow raising that, like, there was the game where Duncan went scoreless against New York. Or I think, scoreless. And they didn't go to Max Strus. It was a lot of other guys that were stepping in. And then, you followed up with another quiet game, which he's gotten to. He doesn't hear the noise when they win, right? But Max Strus also didn't get a ton of run either. So I think you're seeing Spoelstra lean toward defense and seeing what defense heavy ups look like, trying to figure out if Gabe can shoot well enough to be considered that kind of threat because he has that two-way potential. But back to your point, and then we can kind of close the loop here, is that really this boils down to when Tyler is playing the way he looked, coming back, when Bam is scoring, is dropping 36. I mean, just to put this in perspective, that was a season high 36 points. He had 3 block shots. He was the first Heat player with 35 and 3 blocks since LeBron James did it back in 2014. So, I mean, like, that doesn't happen often. And so
one of them was Jimmy's though, so.
It's about those guys, right? Exactly. That's true. So it really, you're right. It's not as much about the margins, although that's the stuff we're watching because it's informative for playoff rotations, etc. To me, the most encouraging thing is seeing Bam and Tyler particularly, and Kyle in stretches, really start to look like they're picking up their play.
All right, we're going to get to my next question here about 1 seeds. I want you guys to go back in your memory a little bit and think about kind of where the Heat were positioned when they were considered to be the dangerous juggernaut, so to speak. I'm not going to call them loomers. That everybody was afraid of, even if they weren't the 1 seed. Before we do, want to tell you about another great sponsor, 5 Reasons Sports Network, another local sponsor, our friends over at All Pro Construction Builders. You can check them out on Instagram by that same name, All Pro Construction Builders. You know that no matter what month it is, hurricane season is always around the corner in South Florida. You got to protect your home or business. Now is the time to do it. You don't want to do it in August, okay? It's too late at that point. So contact All Pro Construction Builders. They specialize in impact windows and doors for residential and commercial properties. Albro Construction Builders is a state-certified, licensed, and insured general contractor. They service Miami-Dade and Monroe counties. They only use locally made products, American-made, and they're family-owned and operated. You'll only deal with the owner. That's our guy, Danny. You can reach out to him at 305-484-4429. That's 305-484-4429. If you mention 5 Reasons, you'll get a free estimate and a 10% discount. That's right, a free estimate and a 10% discount. So reach out to Danny at 305-484-4424. All right, let's get to it. I was going back and looking here. The Heat were not the 1 seed the year that they won the championship with Shaq and Dwayne. They were the 2 seed behind Detroit. Okay. They were the 1 seed a couple of times during Knicks Heat series, or going back, they were at least once, which we talked to Jose about the other day, the 99 season, which was a little bit weird because they only had, because it was a lockout shortened season, it was only 50 games. They only finished 6 games ahead of the Knicks, who were the 8th seed. There really wasn't much difference between those teams, to be honest. And the Knicks got, they kind of got on a roll at that point. So, but they were the 1 seed. I think they were the 1 seed one other time during that stretch and didn't cash in. And we have seen, and they may have been, were they the 1 seed in 05? I think they were, right? Because they had home court against the Pistons. Detroit. So they had the 1 seed the one year they lost to the Pistons, and they did not have the 1 seed in the year that they won. Then you go to the Big 3 era. I'm trying to remember back to 11, 12, 13, and 14. 14 they were not the 1 seed. Indiana was. They were the 1 seed, I believe, in either 12 or 13. I think it was, and they were not the 1 seed in 11 because the Bulls were. So it was only once or twice.
Have to be 13, right? The 27-game winning streak.
Yeah, they won 66 games. So yes, the 27-game winning streak. So they were in 13. I think they were in 12 also, although they were not.
No, it was the Bulls. It was the Bulls because that was the year that D Rose first had that.
No, 11. That's 11. That's 11. 2011.
No, because they played a healthy Chicago Bulls in 2011.
That's what I mean.
And that was when they beat the Bulls in 5. Then the season after, the Bulls were the 1 seed, and they played the Sixers, and
that's right.
With no D Rose.
That's right.
And so he were not the 1 seed in 2012. So I think it was only 2013.
Okay, so 1 out of 4 years they were the 1 seed. Does that sound right to you, Greg? I know they weren't in 14 because they were. There was a lot of conversation about that in the second half of the season.
I'm feverishly scrolling to try to get there. Hang tight.
Well, while you do, check out prizepicks.com. Use the code 5FIVE. Get your initial deposit matched. You put down $100. They'll give you $100 to play with. You don't need to play it all at once. We had a bunch of signups over the weekend with the NBA coming back, so make sure you check it out. They've got some very favorable props on Jimmy lately. And also on Tyler. Look at the Tyler Hero points props. I don't think they've caught on that Tyler's feeling good right now. You may want to play those. Go to prizepicks.com. Use code 5FIVE. You get your initial deposit matched. You play the power play, the flex play, or anything else. I'm giving you as much time as you need here, Greg. Have you found it?
No, so Alex is correct. They were the 2 seed the first year, Chicago. The 2nd seed was a lockout shortened season, which they also finished 2 seed to Chicago.
Okay.
And then 66 wins, obviously. And then the last year they won 54 games, which was second to Indiana's 56 and 26. So they went into that Eastern Conference series without home court, that Eastern Conference Finals, and ended up winning it in short order. So Alex is right.
Alex is right. Let's clip that. To that point, those years, I'm sure, Greg, you were on the side of saying it doesn't matter.
100%. But it matters now.
I don't know that you can do that. So,
I can. I'll tell you all. I'll tell you why, but I'm gonna let you tee us up.
I mean, let's ask this. Okay, if you're a Sixers fan, right? Which I hate to put either of you in that position. If this was on video right now, well, we could throw this on the YouTube channel like this. You would see the way the two of them are looking at me. If you were a Sixers fan, okay, and you would be saying, all right, they're the 1 seed. We have the 2 best players in the series. That's what's, I'm not necessarily saying I agree, but Sixer fans can make the case that they have the 2 most accomplished individual players in the series. Obviously, Lowry has a ring. I know what we think of Bam and Jimmy, etc. But Sixers fans could make a case, and they put a very good team around. I mean, we all like Tyrese Maxey, I think, and I regret maybe that the Heat didn't go the Kentucky route. Tybalt is a good role player. I don't know that he's necessarily more than that at this stage. And Tobias Harris has been a competent scorer in the NBA, although it didn't look like it today. I mean, if you're a Sixer fan, Greg, and then I'll go to Alex on the Nets. Can you make the case that we're not really scared of the Heat as a 1 seed?
They should be feeling good. I mean, if I was a Sixers fan and I just watched Embiid and Harden play the last 2 games against Minnesota and New York, just I would be feeling good. I feel like they got better, and I think Brooklyn will end up being better ultimately from that trade. That's a whole side note. And I know you're going to go through a few other teams, but I just want to make sure that I clarify like where I'm at with flip-flopping on not caring about the 1 seed during the Big 3 era, but caring about it now. This is the type of team that is not the overwhelming favorite. They do not have the overwhelming amount of talent that allows you to be a 2 or 3 seed and say, we just want to be healthy going in. Although that's what I would have said if that's where they were positioned right now, because y'all know how I roll, but this is where I'm coming from. They need things to break right. And one of those things to break right is getting the 1 seed. Like, I feel like there's these certain little benchmarks, one of them being that, maybe the path being a certain way. And I'm not saying that, then they're not a real championship team if they have to have all these like qualifications to get through. But I do think that we should be looking at those things because of the fact that it's such a dogfight amongst the top of the conference. So to me, that's where getting a 1 seed now for this Miami Heat team is more important than it was for that really top heavy star-studded group back in, the Big 3 era.
Well, I feel, Alex, and then I'll go back to you on the Sixers and let you jump in on the next.
All right, that was part of the episode, talking a little bit about this challenging stretch that's coming up this week, not only the Bulls, but then the back-to-back against the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets before facing the Houston Rockets, and then the Philadelphia 76ers, who now have James Harden in their team. So we are getting ready to watch the game. So thank you very much for joining us. Remember, at halftime, join us on in Pace and Spaces with our friends there on Twitter. And then right after the game, as soon as the game is over, come back here to the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. We're going to be doing the post-up show with a Royal Shepherd. So that's it. We're going to have fun. Let's enjoy the game together. And we will see you soon here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Have a good one. Enjoy the game, and we will see you later tonight. Bye-bye.